Hello Rajivji, Kamal here from merasangeet.com and a warm welcome to you today once again on our show Chat in Chai.
Pranam Kamalji, good to talk with you as always.
Good to talk to you Rajivji as well, and a lot of our listeners here are waiting to get their queries answered, immigration queries. But before we move on to that, I just wanted to know, in case you want to share something with us on the immigration bill, anything latest on the reforms?
The Republicans have made their position clear in the form of some one page of principles that they want to follow. No
Mm-hmm.
surprises, basically the same idea. They want border security and enforcement first. They want to reform the um, legal immigration part. They want to make sure that um, you know um, the people who are illegal, they are not given um, any handouts. So all these principles that they have announced, that's nothing new. But
Mm-hmm.
there is a lot of controversy about whether we are going to see a reform this year or not. Um, so one author, one writer, actually, I was exchanging emails with him today by the name of Ross. I forgot his last name. He wrote an article. He says this publication of the reform principles was like a, I'm paraphrasing, like a comely woman showing her leg. All they did was
Mm-hmm.
showed us a glimpse and then took it all away. So I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
it's really showing a good looking leg or are they really going to do anything about it.
Uh-huh.
जैसे हमारे हिंदी में बोलते हैं ना कि नंबर बना रहे हैं अपने, तो ये लोग क्या
Right,
अपने
right,
नंबर बना रहे हैं कि are they actually going to do something? We'll see. It's still a little early to make those conclusions. We'll see how it
right.
works out, but I don't have anything earth shattering to report though.
All right. So, Rajivji, before we kind of talk about the immigration queries, there were some remarks made by Bobby Jindal also on the immigration reforms. So,
Well,
would you also like to comment on that?
yeah, what he said was, I'm trying to recall his exact phrase that he used. He said that
Right,
we have immigration inside out, that we make it so much better for people who are coming illegally than we make it for
right,
people who are coming legally. And I
right,
can I can empathize with that point of view, although I don't like to make comparisons like that. Everybody has
right,
their story, everybody has their place. But again, Bobby Jindal is a Republican. He's got his point of view, which is in line with his own um, um, political party as well. But like I
right,
said, in principle, I agree that the laws of this country should be solid. They should be executed solidly. And of course, people who follow the laws should be shown the consideration they deserve instead of putting them in the back queue or in the back burner. On the back burner, we should be taking care of them. But that does not mean that people who are undocumented don't have a story. Especially the
right.
the younger people who came to this country without their own volition. They came to this country because their parents came to this country. So that's one
Mm-hmm.
example. Or even people who've lived here for decades or years. We can't expect them to uproot their lives and go back.
Right. So,
So
like quoting Rajivji, quoting, if I may just quote Bobby Jindal, he said U.S. immigration system is completely backward. He says, what I believe we need a system of high walls and a broad gate. Right now, we've got the opposite. So
yeah,
we've got low
yeah.
walls and a narrow gate. That's what Bobby Jindal says. I
That
quote him.
that's I like the way he phrased that, although I may not like the sentiment.
Right.
I like the English, though not the substance. I
Uh-huh.
think he's got a point that our laws should be tougher for people who violate the laws, and we should have broad criteria for people who we should make a consistent policy and broad criteria for people who are going to be here in the United States. So yeah, in principle, I
Right.
agree with him. Let me rephrase that. In principle, I agree with some of what he says.
All right. Anyway, Rajesh, now we move on to some queries sent in by listeners here on Mira Sangeet. The first one here says, my brother is in India and I have been here in the United States for a pretty long time. I am a US citizen. My brother now wants to come into the United States. He wants to start a business in the United States. Can you just guide us through what all documents would be required and how is the process that he can do so?
That's a topic that would take me about half an hour to cover completely. But I will give you a quick nutshell version of what is involved. When
Mm-hmm.
somebody wants to actively do business in the United States, the first thing I look at is whether they already have a pre-existing business in India. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When you're coming from
Mm-hmm.
India, you have to look at two options: L1 and EB5, which is the investor visa. Okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
L1 is a very, very good option for people who are actively doing business in India. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Interesting thing is that you could have a printing press in India, and you could have a totally different business in USA, and yet these two businesses can be related and L1 can be given through those businesses. So the idea is, if you're an existing businessman, look at L1 as one of the options. If you just
Mm-hmm.
want to put money in and start a new venture or just be passive, look at EB5 investor visa option. If you happen to be a citizen of a country other than India, you may have other options such as something called E1, E2, treaty trader, treaty investor visas. But for
Mm-hmm.
Indians, L1 and EB5 are the two obvious options.
All right.
If you can focus your questions, or Kamalji, if we can find about a half hour to go over the particular issues that arise and overview of what is involved, I'll be happy to spend that time with you guys.
All right. So, in a nutshell, now I think you've given him what he needs to do, Rajivji. So
Yes,
we
ma'am.
can, in another forthcoming shows, we can definitely cover this topic.
Sure.
Yeah. And now I think you've given him a nutshell, so Rajivji, he'll know what to do, right?
They can go to our website, immigration.com. There are plenty of other good websites, uscis.gov, um, um, visa.gov, travel.state.gov. These are websites that are government owned, government operated. You can get reliable information from them.
All right. So Rajivji, now moving on to some other queries here sent in by our listeners here on Mira Sangeet. The person here, the listener here says there's a wedding in the family coming up. He has been in the United States, they're citizens, and now they want to, for the wedding, invite their friends and some relatives over to the United States. He says, how do they go about it? How can they do they need to sponsor for them? Is there a way that everybody can make it for the wedding without any problems in getting any visas in from India?
Tourist visas do not require any sponsorship or any particular invitations. However, it will be a lot easier if wedding invitations are sent and people apply for their tourist visas in India. There can never be
Okay.
any guarantee who's going to get their tourist visa, who is not. It is entirely a discretionary visa.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't have to send any sponsorship. Sponsorship in this case is Form I-134, which is an affidavit of support. Uh, Consulates can require it, but it's not something that is automatically a process. Okay.
Okay.
So if they apply for their tourist visa and for some reason consulate says, we want you to get an affidavit of support, at that point you can consider it and give it. But really all you need to do is send them wedding invitations, let them apply for tourist visas so that there is a genuine reason why they are coming. But there is no way you can ensure that the visas are granted.
All right. So Rajivji, these were the queries sent in by our listeners here on Mira Sangeet. For anything else, in case our listeners want to reach you, they can certainly reach us again, send in their queries, or reach you at your website. And
Definitely, of course.
yeah, yes.
I have
So good
one
talking to you, Rajiv.
I have
Yes,
one
yes, sure.
quick word before we hang up about that tourist visa we were talking about. I
Yes.
thought I'll add one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, for younger people who are single or who have less sort of roots in the society, it is even more difficult to get visa stamped. People who are
Okay.
married, older, have their businesses, or are successful professionally, they probably will have an easier time getting these visas. So keep that in mind.
All right, all
Okay.
right. So thank you so much, Rajuji, for the advice here to our listeners and for being a part of our show, Chat and Chai, once again on Mera Sangeet.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajuji. Bye bye.
Bye. Every other Thursday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we host free community conference calls. Everybody is welcome to join. Some people post questions ahead of time. You can take membership in our forums. All of the details are there on our website, immigration.com. You can take membership ahead of time, and you know it's instantaneous. It happens right away. And post your questions beforehand, or you can just log in. The phone number and all are provided: 202 800 8394, 12:30 Eastern Standard Time every other Thursday. We have free apps for both Apple iOS platform for your iPhones and iPads, as well as for Android. Just look for immigration.com, the period dot, and the application should show up.